I never believed silence could scream, until the night I found it. It was tucked in Aray's jacket pocket, folded twice, soft with the faint scent of his cologne. At first I thought it was just another receipt, but the moment I saw it, my chest slammed like a jackhammer. Luna Apartments, Block C. A second apartment, a second life. For months he'd been coming home late, smelling faintly of smoke and something else I couldn't place, with excuses polished like rehearsed lines. Always smiling, always calm, always lying. I held the paper in my hand, trembling. A date, a payment, a key number. My heart beat so hard I could feel it in my throat. When he walked in, I forced calm into my voice. Couldn't sleep. He smiled like nothing mattered. "Hey, P, still up?" I didn't answer. I only memorized the address. Block C, Luna Apartments. Tomorrow I would go, even if it killed me. Before I could close my eyes, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. One message, a single line. "Don't forget tomorrow. Everything must be clean. M." Mira. The name froze me. I had never heard it before. Sleep didn't come. I sat in the darkness, clutching the receipt, listening to Aray's steady breathing beside me. Once I would have trusted it. Once I would have trusted him. Now it felt like a lie I could taste. The next morning I went to the closet. Something in my gut told me to look, and found it. A gun neatly wrapped in an old shirt. My fingers hovered over it, unwilling yet drawn. I didn't know whether to scream, to run, or to confront him. I only knew one thing. I couldn't ignore it. Later at breakfast he poured his coffee, eyes calm. "You're quiet today." "I have a lot on my mind," I said. My voice sounded strange even to me. "Everything okay?" I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Just work stress." He didn't ask again. Men like him always know when to shut up. That night I followed him. Down darkened streets, past cracked streetlights to a place I had never been, the warehouse near the docks. Through the broken windows I saw him. And her, Mira, standing over a figure I couldn't yet identify. Then came the shot. One loud, sharp crack that made my ears ring. And a scream. My legs froze. My heart slammed. The world narrowed to that single moment. Aray's name, echoing in a voice I didn't recognize. I didn't know if I was stepping into danger or uncovering the truth that would shatter everything. Someone screamed Aray's name from inside the warehouse, and the voice sounded terrified. The city never looked so cold. Rain-slicked streets reflected neon lights like fractured mirrors, and I could feel my heartbeat in the puddles beneath me. Every step toward Luna Apartments felt heavier than the last, as if the world itself was trying to warn me away. I didn't bring the gun. I didn't bring courage. I only brought the receipt, the fragile scrap of paper that had become my map into Aray's hidden life. The building loomed ahead, expensive, polished, and utterly silent, like a graveyard for secrets. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. Something in me didn't want to be observed, didn't want anyone to hear me breathe. 3rd floor, door 309. The number from the receipt burned in my memory. The door was slightly ajar. I froze. Inside, bleach and decay mixed in a way that made my stomach turn. A faint, metallic scent lingered in the air, clinging to the corners. And then I saw it, on the floor, spreading like a dark stain. Blood. A woman's scarf lay next to it, red silk, soaked at the edges. 2 wine glasses sat on the counter, one half full. Someone had been here last night. Someone had almost gotten away with it. A floorboard creaked behind me. "You shouldn't be here." I spun. A man in a black coat stood in the doorway, tall, eyes sharp, badge glinting in the dim light. Inspector Kale. "You're Pushpa, right?" he asked, his voice quiet but cutting through the silence like a knife. "Aray's wife." How do you know my name? I whispered, shock making my voice brittle. Because we've been following him, he said calmly. For months. The words sank into me like lead. Before I could breathe, he bent and picked up an envelope from the floor. Blood-stained. My name written across it in Aray's own handwriting. I wanted to tear it from his hands, throw it away, hide from whatever truth it held. But curiosity, maybe fear, won. I watched him open it. Inside was a photograph, crisp, shocking, unmovable. Aray and Mira, standing over a dead man. I froze. My knees trembled. This can't be real, I whispered. Oh, it's very real, Kale said, stepping closer. That man was Devran Iyer. He disappeared 3 nights ago. I looked at the photo again. The warehouse in the background. I knew that place. Aray's supposed night shifts cover. I should have known. I should have trusted him. I need to see my husband, I said, voice shaking. He won't talk. Men like him never do, Kale said. But you might help us bring him down. That night, I confronted Aray. The dining table between us felt like a battlefield. Who is Mira? I demanded. He didn't flinch. Someone from work. Work doesn't involve blood on floors. His jaw tightened. A flicker of something, anger, fear, crossed his eyes. Pushpa, there are things you don't understand. Then make me understand, I shot back. He stood and grabbed my wrists, not hard, but hard enough to make my pulse spike. If you love me, stop digging. He walked away, leaving me with nothing but shadows and questions. Later, curiosity burned too fiercely to ignore. I followed him. Through rain-soaked streets, past flickering streetlights, to the warehouse by the docks. I saw them. Aray, Mira, and a man I didn't know. And then I heard it. Aray's voice, cold and low. Bury it tonight. A metallic click. A shiver ran up my spine. A gunshot echoed through the night, and a scream. A voice screamed Aray's name, piercing, terrified, and it wasn't coming from him. The scream ripped through the night, but I didn't move. My legs felt like lead, my chest trapped beneath an invisible weight. Through a cracked doorway, I saw them clearly. Aray, frozen. Mira, her hand trembling around a gun, and a man lying motionless on the floor. His face was hidden in shadows, but his presence was undeniable. I swallowed hard, trying to force my body to move. The blood on the floor gleamed under the dim warehouse light, and the metallic tang filled my senses. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear, but my feet stayed rooted. Then I saw it. Inspector Kale. He was alive, barely. One side of his face bruised, his shirt ripped, blood trickling down his temple. He lifted his hand weakly and pointed toward the fallen man. That's Devran Iyer, he rasped. He was supposed to be under protection. But Aray, he went rogue. I stared at the photo he was holding, a photograph that had somehow survived the chaos. My stomach churned. Aray and Mira, smiling, standing over Devran's lifeless body. I could see the blood on their hands, the weight of what they had done pressed into their expressions. My voice caught. This can't be real. Oh, it's very real, Kale said, his eyes sharp despite the blood and bruises. That man disappeared 3 nights ago. He was investigating Aray's activities, and now he's dead. I felt my knees weaken. The warehouse seemed to spin around me. Everything I thought I knew about Aray, the man I loved, the life we shared, was a lie. Every late night, every excuse, every business trip. All of it a web, spun so carefully I had never seen it unravel. I need to see him, I whispered. I need to confront Aray. Kale shook his head. He won't talk. Men like him don't confess. But you might be the only one who can bring him down. I followed him back to the edge of the warehouse. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but it did nothing to wash away the tension in the air. That night, I confronted Aray in our apartment. The dining table was a battlefield between us, shadows flickering across his calm face. "Who is Mira?" I demanded, my voice tight. "Why is she in your life?" He didn't flinch. "She's just someone from work." "Work doesn't involve murder," I shouted. "Look at this." I threw the photograph on the table. It fluttered, landing face up. Aray's jaw tightened. A flicker of something dark crossed his eyes. Anger, fear, guilt? I couldn't tell. "Pushpa. There are things you don't understand," he said quietly. "Then make me understand," I screamed. He stood, grabbed my wrists, not roughly, but enough to send a shiver down my spine. "If you love me, stop digging," he said, and walked away. But I couldn't stop. Later, I followed him again. The streets were dark, slick, dangerous, but I didn't care. I had to know the truth. Through broken windows, I saw them, Aray, Mira, and a figure I didn't recognize. They were whispering, moving quickly, tension radiating from their bodies. Then I heard it. Aray's voice, low and precise. "Bury it tonight." Metallic click. My stomach dropped. A gunshot cut through the night, and another scream. The scream was filled with terror, and I realized it wasn't coming from the man on the floor. It wasn't coming from Aray. Someone else had just walked into a trap, and I could hear their final desperate cry. The scream still echoed in my ears as I pressed myself against the cold brick wall of the warehouse. Rain dripped from the ceiling, pooling around my shoes, mixing with the metallic stench of blood. My pulse thumped in my temples, my fingers trembled around the edge of the doorframe. Inside, chaos had taken shape. Mira stood over a body, her hands slick with blood. A gun rested loosely in her grip. Aray's face was pale, his posture frozen, as if the weight of every secret he'd ever carried had finally crushed him. I swallowed, trying to steady my voice. "Aray," I whispered. He turned slowly, eyes wide. "Pushpa, you shouldn't be here." But I was already moving, stepping over shards of glass and pools of blood. The man on the ground was Inspector Kale, alive but barely. Bruises and cuts covered his face, his shirt was torn, and a red smear streaked across his chest. Mira's eyes snapped to me. "You followed us." "I had to," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Why is he here? Why is he—" Aray's voice cut in, low and urgent. "Pushpa, step back." I didn't. "Because we had no choice," he whispered. "He came after me. He wasn't supposed to die." I froze, my hands clenched. "He? Who's he?" Mira's eyes darted toward the shadows. "Kale wasn't just investigating Aray. He was working with Devraj. He intended to kill him. He was part of the conspiracy." I stumbled back, stomach dropping. Conspiracy? Murder? Betrayal? The words slammed into me like bullets. "Aray," I breathed. "You're involved." His hands shook. "I did what I had to. To survive. To protect you." I wanted to scream, to run, to collapse. But I saw it then, the gun in Mira's hand, the way the shadows moved, the cold glint of the warehouse lights on the concrete floor. It wasn't over, not even close. A sudden buzz cut through the tension. Kale's phone, lying near his hand, vibrated violently. He groaned, reaching for it. The screen lit up with a single message. "Finish them tonight." Devraj. My blood froze. Devraj. A name I'd heard whispered in Aray's dark moments, a name that carried fear and power. Aray stepped closer to me, voice barely above a whisper. "Pushpa, I did everything to protect you." "By lying," I shot back. "By hiding this, by killing?" He shook his head, eyes haunted. "You don't understand. I was trapped. Everyone is trapped." Mira's grip on the gun tightened. "If you stay here, you die too. Right now." But I couldn't leave him. I couldn't. The shadows shifted, and Devraj's men emerged, silent, armed, and ready. Their eyes glinted with cold malice. Devraj stepped forward from the darkness, his smile cruel, almost casual. "Pushpa," he said, voice smooth, ice cold. "Welcome to the family business." My hands shook. The gun Mira had given me felt impossibly heavy. Aray whispered in my ear, "It's time to choose, him or your life." I swallowed hard. I didn't move. I couldn't. The room held its breath. Bullets glinted in the dim light. Every heartbeat was a countdown. Devraj leaned in, whispering in my ear, "The choice is yours, but choose wrong, and everyone dies." The warehouse air was thick with smoke and fear. Bullets had stopped for now, but the silence was worse, heavy, suffocating. My hands still shook around the gun Mira had slipped into my palm. Devraj's eyes never left mine. Calm, predatory, calculating. The kind of man who could smile while tearing your world apart. "Devraj," Aray muttered under his breath, and the name hung in the air like a curse. "Who is he?" I demanded, voice tight. My chest burned with adrenaline and betrayal. "Someone I can't escape," Aray said, voice low, haunted. "Someone who decides who lives and who dies." Mira's fingers brushed mine, a silent signal. Her other hand tightened on her gun. "If you love him, Pushpa, you run. Right now." I shook my head. I couldn't. Not anymore. The phone in Cale's pocket buzzed again. I snatched it, my eyes catching the screen in the dim light. "Warehouse C midnight. Bring the wife." My blood ran cold. Someone knew I was here. Someone knew everything. Aray looked at me then, not as a husband, not as a liar, but as a man terrified for my life. "Pushpa, I did everything to protect you." "By lying?" I spat. "By hiding his murders?" His hands trembled. "By keeping you alive." Devraj stepped closer, voice soft, deadly. "It's time to choose, him or your life." I glanced at Aray, my husband, my betrayer, my only chance at survival. Then at Devraj, his shadow towering, a predator in human form. The seconds stretched into eternity. My grip on the gun tightened. Mira whispered, "If you don't act, he'll kill both of you." Devraj's men edged closer, weapons trained, waiting for my move. Every instinct screamed at me to fire, to fight, to survive, but my mind was a storm, spinning with betrayal, fear, and heartbreak. Aray stepped forward. "Pushpa, trust me, one move, one choice, and it's over." I raised the gun. My pulse thundered. The world narrowed to the single heartbeat before the inevitable. And then Devraj smiled, too wide, too cruel. "One last thing, before you choose." He leaned close, voice a whisper in my ear. "The woman you trust the most is the reason your life is about to end." My stomach dropped. I looked at Aray, confusion and terror mixing in my gaze. He froze, the color draining from his face. Mira's grip tightened on my wrist. "Pushpa, run!" But I couldn't move. My finger hovered over the trigger. Devraj's smile widened. "Shoot, or live with what comes next." The world seemed to hold its breath, and in that frozen heartbeat, I realized the truth. Aray had been hiding something far worse than the murders, and it was about to destroy us all. The world narrowed to a heartbeat. My finger hovered over the gun, every muscle taut, every nerve screaming. Devraj's cold smile reflected in my eyes, and behind him, the shadows of his men loomed like death itself. Aray stood beside me, trembling, not with fear, but with something heavier. Guilt, regret, a truth I was only beginning to understand. "You can walk away," Devraj said smoothly, voice slicing the silence. "But if you stay, you die with him." I swallowed. My mind raced. One life in my hands, another at my side, and all the lies, all the betrayal, all the blood spilled. It was closing in. Mira's fingers brushed mine, a silent promise. Her other hand slipped a second gun into my palm. Aray's voice cracked. "Pushpa, trust me. Whatever happens, survive." I shook my head. "No, this ends tonight. One way or another." Time slowed. Devraj lifted his gun, aiming with casual precision. 3 seconds to decide, he said. 1. I raised my gun. The weight of it was nothing compared to the weight of truth. 2. The room held its breath. The flickering warehouse lights cast grotesque shadows on the walls, stretching like fingers reaching for us. 3. Bang! Smoke filled the air. Devraj staggered, a red blossom blooming across his chest. The gun slipped from his fingers. Chaos erupted. His men fired blindly. Bullets shredded the air. Mira dove behind a crate, dragging me with her. Aray lunged for cover, groaning in pain as blood seeped through his shirt. Adrenaline became instinct. I fired. 1 shot, 2 shots. Every pull of the trigger, a mixture of fear and fury. By the time the sirens screamed in the distance, Devraj's men were down. Aray lay bleeding, eyes wide, staring at me. "I did it. All for you," he whispered, voice faint. Tears blurred my vision. "You also lied. You destroyed everything." He coughed, blood staining his lips. "Tell them I was a good man. Tell them I loved you." I wanted to hold him, to forgive, to hate, to scream. But the world outside had already moved. Police lights flashed through broken windows. Shadows of men in uniforms swept the warehouse, shouting orders, calling names, dragging bodies. Mira was gone, vanished before the chaos began, leaving only her promise, her silence, and the weight of survival. Days later, I found a key in Aray's jacket. My hands shook. Another receipt, another apartment. This one wasn't Luna Apartments. Raven Cross. The lease had already been signed, but the name on it wasn't Aray's. It was mine. I stared at it. My heart thundered in my chest. The city outside glimmered like fractured glass, and I understood the terrifying truth. Survival had a price. And now, I owned the next chapter, because someone had already started the game, and their first move was me. Pushpa survives the massacre, but the shadow of the conspiracy has shifted onto her. She now carries Aray's secrets, Devraj's enemies, and the keys to a new dangerous life, setting up a sequel where betrayal, murder, and power will test her again.